Okay, let's do a little video here. The Fraud Files blog. This is Tracy Coenen. She's apparently a forensics accountant. Sorry I'm laughing, but investigates cases of white-collar crime. She doesn't seem to be investigating extortion very well. Okay, so Tracy Coenen has accused me of extortion. This is defamation. This is illegal. I was never on trial for extortion. I never had a criminal complaint of extortion. I did not commit extortion. She has no proof of extortion, just Randazza's word. Okay, there's emails between me and Mark Randazza that prove the truth of this matter, but she doesn't care about that. She is just upset and siding with Mark Randazza. Okay, let's take a look at some of this article here. Last week, an arbitration panel issued a decision in favor of Mark Randazza. Okay, yes, Peter Michelson was the panelist for WIPO. He had a massive conflict of interest against Crystal Cox, Prosecutor Rose, Elliott, Bernstein, I View It, in which will come out soon in many lawsuits and legal actions over that. The WIPO decision accused me of extortion as well, which is a crime which I was never investigated for. I was never given a trial for. There was never a criminal complaint. There was no extortion. This is simply Mark Randazza getting big media and people to back him based on his word, no proof. The emails between me and Mark aren't coming out. The one email between me and Obsidian was completely out of context. I was not on trial. Obsidian versus Cox was not about extortion. It was about one blog post. I was exposing a corrupt bankruptcy trustee in a $40 million bankruptcy. It had nothing to do with extortion. Okay, whereby for a nice sum she would remove negative things she wrote about those individuals. That never happened. I never wrote negative information about Mark Randazza and then asked him for money to remove it. That never ever happened. I bought MarkRandazza.com the day I had a meeting with him to be my attorney. I did that to do my own PR on the case. He was going to be my attorney in my appeal. Though he was pressuring me to not appeal, he just wanted to negotiate with the other side and make it go away. Him and his friends have pressured me heavily to not go to the 9th. And we'll talk about that more later. Okay, Cox went after Mark Randazza after becoming angry with him over his potential representation in another case of extortion. Okay. This woman, Tracy Coenen, has completely defamed me here. Another case of extortion? Really? Obsidian versus Cox was not about extortion. I was never on trial for extortion. There was no case of extortion. Extortion is criminal. Why would I have needed him when I could have had a public defender? Mark Randazza wanted to represent me. He did act as my attorney. He told people of the First Amendment bar he was my attorney. In fact, Eugene Volokh contacted me and told me that I better let Mark Randazza know that he wasn't going to represent me in this case because he was telling everybody that I was. And apparently they'd had a long phone conversation about it. So Mark was pretty upset because, you know, this was a whole bunch of publicity for him because this is a massive free speech case. If you read the actual documents of my case, you can see that I'm in a position to change the law for all bloggers. This is new media. This is a massive case. And Mark Randazza was pressuring me to not go to the 9th. The first time I had a meeting on the phone with Mark Randazza, he told me that the big boys in the porn industry had called him and said, "What are you going to do about Crystal Cox?" I believe Mark Randazza was out to set me up the whole time. He didn't want me to go to the 9th because he didn't want it to affect the big money in the porn industry. So her saying that I went after Mark because I was angry over the representation of extortion, first of all, there was no case of extortion. And yeah, I got angry with Mark because he went to the other side. He had privileged information. He had all of my strategy. He had all of my documents. We'd had meetings about the case. He was to be my attorney. He emailed me and told me he would represent me. And then he used my information against me to negotiate before he even said he would represent me, and he messed up my case, and he was trying to make it so that there would be no appeal, and I wanted to appeal. He told me I shouldn't appeal so that the case could be used to lobby for other laws, when really going to the 9th was of my best interest and the best interest of all citizen journalists, all bloggers, and all new media. So he's painted out this case of extortion that didn't even happen. When he went to conspire with the other side, that's when I bought JenniferRondazza.com, and I bought a whole bunch of other .coms, and I went after him in the search engines. And every time I did, he got the sites removed. He'd get Google to remove them, WordPress, so I just get more and more and more to go after him. We'll talk about, as far as the 3-year-old's name, it's all lies that anything was ever published on it. Nothing was ever published on it. I bought that .com to prove Mark was out there bragging that he was a domain name attorney, an intellectual property expert. He didn't have his .com, he didn't have his child's .com, he didn't have his wife's .com. And we'll talk a lot more about that, but it is a flat-out lie that I posted things on that .com and then asked him for money. I never posted anything about Mark Rondazza and asked him for money. In fact, he offered me to buy it from me, and I said no, it's not for sale for any amount of money. This was never about money. This is about exposing a corrupt, dirty, unethical porn industry attorney and what he does in representation of the porn industry and human trafficking and stalking and the horrible things that happens in the porn industry and how he represents these folks. Mark Rondazza defended a man in owning a domain name. Glenn Beck raped and murdered a young girl in 1990. .com. He won that for that guy. And he thinks it's wrong for me to have MarkRondazza.com or JenniferRondazza.com or to own a domain name of his child that I didn't do anything with. But yet he defended that guy in owning something, accusing someone of raping and murdering a young girl? A young girl implies underage. That is sick. Mark Rondazza is sick, and I intend to keep exposing him in order to protect others. People like Tracy Coenen, however you pronounce it, she is not looking at the facts. She is not out for the best of the public interest. Anyway, so that sentence is not true. The original case was noteworthy, not as much because it demonstrates Cox's fondness for attempting to destroy reputations. Nope, that's not what I do. I expose people at the top of the search engines. Yes, I am a search engine reputation manager. That came later. My object of what I was doing was to give voice to victims. And in that, I got really good at getting on top of the search engine. So yeah, now I'm a search engine reputation manager, and I do it pro bono for the victims of corruption, like people like Mark Rondazza and David Amon of Tonkintorp serve up to victims of the corrupt courts in America. Okay, for attempting to destroy reputations and then offering to repair those reputations for a large sum of money. Never ever got a large sum of money for removing anything, never asked anyone to give me money to remove anything. This never ever happened. But because the judge ruled that Cox is not a journalist, okay, not to be confused, you know, you should take a good look at this, folks, because even if you believe that this infamous Crystal Cox is an extortionist, can't I still be a journalist? I mean, if I'm a criminal and proven in court that I've committed a crime, even if I go to jail for that crime or I'm indicted for that crime, I'm still a journalist. So bloggers are not journalists, and they say, no, it's just Crystal Cox is the only blogger. How could that possibly be that I'm the only blogger that's not a journalist? I mean, I have 1,000 blogs. I have hundreds of thousands of posts. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been doing it in investigative blogging fashion for 5 years. I get tips by phone, by email. Things are mailed to me. I get videos. I've read depositions. I've read court cases. I've studied all this stuff. I'm definitely a journalist and a reporter on all this. And even if you believe I'm a criminal, can't I still be a journalist and be a criminal? I mean, this just doesn't make any sense. This is all just a smokescreen because big media wants to protect their standing, and they don't want bloggers to be media. Okay, in attempting to destroy Mark Rondazza's reputation, nope, I was exposing Mark Rondazza's unethical and corrupt behavior. Cox bought a bunch of domain names associated with him, MarkRondazza.com. Yep, I bought that one to give PR to my case. He should have owned it if he was actually any good at being an intellectual property attorney. Okay, predictably, she punished potentially reputation-destroying content and then offered to remove it if Mark paid me, blah, blah, blah. Predictably. This is a flat-out lie. I did not do that. I did not publish anything on that site and offer Mark for services. Okay? When Mark conspired with the plaintiff in Obsidian versus Cox, then I published on that. Okay? Look at the facts of this case and don't just believe Mark Rondazza. Apparently, That's what everybody's doing, and nobody's really investigating it, even though Tracy Coenen pretends that she is some sort of special investigator for corruption. She's certainly not getting the corruption in these cases. All right. Cox denied that she was trying to extort money from Randazza, writing on one of her sites, this is verbatim, odd capitalization and all. Have you ever read Thomas Paine's Common Sense? Well, at the beginning of that, it talks about the same thing, his odd capitalization. You know, there's a reason I capitalize where I do, and it's also an independent product, which makes me, you know, definitely one of those criteria of media that Mr. Judge Hernandez, you know, said I wasn't media for. Anyway, but she has to throw in that making fun of me. Whatever. It's my style. It's my thing. Anyway, this is a case here now of actual malice, because she knows that I have said I'm not guilty of extortion. She knows that there was no, she quotes this, right? So saying that I was not accused of extortion in a criminal complaint, nor was I on trial for extortion. Okay, so did she go and find a criminal complaint? Did she go and prove that I was on trial for extortion? No. She just stated that I was an extortionist, and up above where she stated that I was in a trial for extortion. Flat out not true. So this is a case of malice because she actually knows this is not true. See, part of my case is whether or not I had actual malice doesn't seem to apply because I'm a blogger and not a journalist, apparently, which is not true. So these are very important issues. So oh man, anyway. Randazza, or whatever, however she spells it there, took legal action to have the domains registered by Crystal Cox returned to him, saying that the domain names are creating confusion. Oh, you mean like Glenn Beck raped and murdered a young girl in 1990.com? Creating confusion? No. Mark Randazza is jealous because I'm better at search engine reputation management. I'm better at internet marketing than he is. He emailed me when he saw that I was taking over the search engines for his name. He's like, what do you want from me or whatever. He tried to set me up for extortion, and I just completely ignored him. He's been trying to set me up all along and discredit me. Okay, so confusion. The domain names are so similar to his name and law firm using, okay, common trademark. Mark Randazza does not have a trademark on his name, okay? He stupidly didn't get one, and now he's trying to pretend that he did. He doesn't have a TM on his site. He uses Marco Randazza on Twitter. He uses Marco Randazza as a username on his Randazza legal site. I believe his birth name is probably Marco Randazza too, but yet he has a right to markrandazza.com and no one else in the world has a right to it just because he's an attorney. That's not fair and that is not legal, and WIPO giving him that right, believe me, at some point that will be overturned. That was fraud. Peter Michelson had a massive conflict of interest. WIPO will be under investigation through the iViewIt Technologies case. Check out iViewIt.tv for that story. Lots more will be coming up on that. So yeah, he also then filed, after he filed for Mark John Randazza, Mark J, and markrandazza.com, and of course in that jenniferrandazza.com he'd already gotten because I gave that away, and he pressured the woman I gave it to and forced her to give it to him, or GoDaddy Insider, he stole it. And as far as the daughters.com, I was deleted like 6 months ago. You know, I'd proved my point that he was an idiot, and it was never a blog. That's a flat-out lie. Anyway, so then after he filed his WIPO case, I got the .biz.info.mobi just to, you know, let him know what a big idiot he was. And so he filed and added those in the case, and so the WIPO guy said, you can have those too. So then after that went in, then I bought the .me, which they say, you know, I'm not allowed to do. Well, if I can't buy these, then why does GoDaddy get to make this, get to sell them? GoDaddy makes all the ad revenue. GoDaddy's the one who makes the click-through revenue. It's not the end user that should be punished for what GoDaddy does. Okay. Yeah, this is quoting WIPO. We'll talk a lot more about WIPO later. WIPO had no right to accuse me of extortion based on Mark Randazza's word. They had no proof of extortion. Okay, I showed him the emails where Mark Randazza was to represent me. There was no offer of money after posting bad things. That's not true. There was no click-through revenue that came to me. GoDaddy had click-through revenue. None of this was proven. This is all just allegations with no documents of fact and no investigation. You're going to hear a lot more on the WIPO case coming soon. Because yes, WIPO did accuse me of extortion, and Elliot Bernstein. Okay. Concludes that she was trying to extort people, not to be an investigative blogger or a reputation manager. Okay, so I've been an investigative blogger for like 6 years. Like I said, I've been in internet marketing for about 10 years. I do deep investigations. I have had tons of interviews. I mean, you know, I've written about Philip Falcone and Tim Blexeth and the TerraStar bankruptcies, and just, you know, of course, I View It and the E-Toys and Mitt Romney thing. I've been doing this for a long, long time as investigative blogging. The reputation management thing came up later because I got really good at what I did, and real estate was slow, and I thought, well, I would try to do that and just hang a shingle for it. I've never even really got any clients for it, and I certainly never, ever offered to remove bad information. I wouldn't remove it. As far as what happened with Obsidian, that was a settlement negotiation. And if you cared to look at all of the emails and the facts of that case, you would know there was no extortion there either. Now, as you go down and look at the comments, she acts like you're not allowed to put hate on her comments, but she does allow it. Sean Boucher, you know, he was the one that threatened to kill me a few years back. Montana Corruption has protected him. RoyceEngstrom.com, you can see my blog about that. He sits at the University of Montana. He's on their payroll. This day, he was at the University of Montana on their payroll. He incites hate. He commits hate crimes. Everybody I write about, he calls my victims, when really they're just my story. You can call everybody the New York Times writes about as their victims. He's accusing me of being responsible for suicides. That is not true. Obviously, there's no proof of this. He just thrashes me. He talks about my source, one of my sources in the Summit case, and just, you know, it's all kind of sexual stuff and derogatory and complete hate, and, you know, of course, calling me fat and all kinds of shit. Sorry, cursed a little bit there. We wouldn't want to curse on any of these sites. Okay, so, yeah, just all kinds of, yeah. Okay, so then the fraud files, I don't know, let's see who left this, if it was a blog author, or, I can't really tell who this one is, but it says domain names which include the name of Rondazza, his wife, and their 3-year-old daughter. She posted defamatory things on the websites at those domains and offered to remove the content. That, my friends, is ... extortion. Okay, that's what's implied here. That never happened. Nothing was ever posted on the daughter's site. And as far as the wife's site, at the time that this was all going on, Rush Limbaugh was trashing Sandra Fluke. You remember all that? You can search my blogs for that. And it was horrible. And he lost a lot of sponsors. He had a whole lot of attacks for it. But Mark Rondazza came in and went on CNN and defended Rush Limbaugh. He said silencing Rush Limbaugh is un-American, and that butthurt doesn't pay on his watch, and blah, blah, blah. So in defending the rights of women, I came in and I, yes, started trashing his wife, but I didn't just say, oh, she's a slut and all this stuff just out of thin air. I linked to this. Okay, now this is from Mark Rondazza's blog. This is his wife, not his child. A lot of people are like, why'd you post a picture of his child? This is his blog, not mine. And he said that he married her he said, okay, first of all, this is a mixed drink. And underneath it says where babies really come from. Okay, Mark Rondazza is a porn industry attorney. Okay, he supports some really sick stuff. Look deep into this case. My self-imposed job is to protect people from Mark Rondazza and his friends who are stalking them, who have outed young gay teens that have committed suicide, apparently. And I mean, this is the way the stories go. You know, I don't know all of that for fact, but I've made a parody of it. I posted to as much documentation and proof as I can, and I'm trying to help people in order to stop attorneys like Mark Rondazza from doing what they do. So anyway, okay, he went to Cabo San Lucas, coincided with his girlfriend's birthday, so he made it a twofer. Okay, while we were there, Jennifer conceived. According to the gynecologist, the date of conception was blah, 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 which makes a lot of sense because we had a particularly spirited drunken tryst that day. Yep, some great scuba diving, some blah, 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 a little whisper of let's go take a nap in my ear and new life begins. Wow. Okay, then down below, says, and yes, I'm making an honest woman of her. So it looks like the tender young age of 38, okay, and then somewhere else he talks about he might as well marry her. Anyway, but you get the point. So this was Mark's site that, yeah, drunken tryst, and might as well marry her, and you know, all that stuff. So yeah, I called her a slut at this, and at this time he was defending Sandra Fluke being called a slut. So this stuff didn't all just come out of thin air. This story is massive, folks. It really is. Okay, let's just take a look at this. This is on markrondaza.blogspot.com, and Mark is with a K. And you can just search it for extortion. Anyway, this is an email thread. If you want any of this information, you can email me, crystal@crystalcox.com, and I'll send you a link to actually forward you the emails between me and Mark Rondazza. See, on December 10th, it was a phone call. We had meetings. I sent him all my files. On December 14th, he says, I've reviewed the file and pondered the issue, and I've decided that I will take your case. We need to talk about some things before the finalization of representation, but I'm game. When can you talk? So he wanted to represent me. The thing is that between the 10th and the 14th, he was already telling everybody he was my attorney. He was negotiating with the plaintiff. He was trying to cut a deal. He didn't talk to me about the deal. I still don't know the terms of the deal. He had phone calls with Eugene Volokh, and apparently other people in the First Amendment bar, and told him he was my attorney. So Eugene contacted me and said if he was glad. He's like, okay, you chose Mark. Okay, I'll do what I can to help him. He was very sweet about Mark and very professional. But I said, no, I didn't choose Mark. And he said, well, you might want to let Mark know that. So I then emailed Eugene and Mark this email saying why I was rejecting Mark as my attorney. And so you can see all of that. Again, email me if you need links to any of this stuff. Yeah, Mark Rondazza humbly apologized and said, I did not tell anyone I represented you, which isn't true. He did. He was trying to broker a deal. He admitted to all of that. I have all of the proof of all of this. Of course, people like this Tracy back here, she don't care about proof. She's just listening to Mark Rondazza. So anyway, Tracy Coenen will be named a named defendant. She will be sued over this. This is illegal to accuse me of a crime. She has not investigated it. You're going to be hearing a whole lot more about all of this. And I tell you, .com to check out, but you know, they take my blogs down as fast as I put them up sometimes. So if you want any particular information, email me, crystal@crystalcox.com, and keep up with your blogs. Start a blog at WordPress, blogger.com, wherever you can, and expose these attorneys. Post all the documents. Do videos talking about it. Post proof. Of course, people like Tracy Coenen and people like Kashmir Hill and David Carr of the New York Times, Kashmir's of Forbes, they're apparently not going to investigate. They're just going to listen to who they think is the most credible party. In this case, they allegedly, apparently, think that it's Mark Rondazza, and it's not. So keep exposing corruption, keep standing up for what's right, and even though these haters and these people are fighting against you, blogs are media, blogs are news, and just keep standing up for your rights and keep helping to make the place a better world. All right, peace and love to you out there. Bye-bye.